So I'm going to give you a very brief breakdown of this frankly profound science, or really it's a theory, but heavily researched. And it's one of what's sometimes called the four psychologies that form what's called psychodynamic theory or psychodynamic therapy. It's one of the four branches of theory, and it's the one in that four that just about everybody who comes across these ideas says, holy shit, that's true. That actually tracks, that checks out in my life. And what attachment theory is very simply the science of how bonding in our early caregiver relationships creates predictable patterns in our adult relationships, especially the intimate ones. All right, so if you had a home where there was trust, where you could rely on your caregivers, maybe not 100%. No family is perfect. Children's needs are too vast for any parent to actually get it right. Somebody told me they went on a parents' retreat once where the teacher started off by saying, everybody raise your hand and repeat after me. I will fuck up my child. Everybody had to just say it out loud. Let's just get it out of the way. It's going to happen because children's needs are so great. And when we were children, not only were our needs so great, we were dependent on those caregivers and the adults in our lives. When we were this small and everybody was up there and seemed like a god, and we needed them for everything. And we were born into this broken and hurting world that's so confused, and to people who had been subjected to that broken and hurting world that's so confused and had their myriad confusions themselves. So every parent drops the ball, all the way up to vicious abuse going on in households. Let's be real about this. So those of us who turn to meditation typically didn't have households growing up that were quite so wonderful, right? For me, there was a lot of love in my home growing up, and there was a lot of pain. There was a lot of trauma. My dad ghosted my family when I was 4 and just tore everybody up on his way out. And then there was me, innocent little kid, just like wondering why everybody was in their rooms with the door shut all the time. You know, everybody in my house meant well. And yet I experienced what are called attachment injuries, where the bonding in that home felt like abandonment a lot. That was the quality of the vibe in the house. And so when things go awry in childhood, children can either arrive at one of two stations, really. Either there's something wrong with me or there's something wrong with everybody else, right? That's just where children are at cognitively in terms of brain development and what have you. It's either something with me or it's everyone else. And if you are in the camp where things went awry at home, the love wasn't so reliable, or the parenting styles perhaps that were practiced in the home, not so consistent. One day you would get in trouble for something and the next day it would be totally fine, for example. Right. There are those of us who took it on ourselves and said, there must be something wrong with me that this is going on. And those of us who came to that conclusion likely began to develop what's called a preoccupied attachment style, meaning that anytime that love is present in our lives, it becomes something that preoccupies your mind. It's sometimes called an insecure attachment style. I do not love these terms because they're pathologizing and people take it as like, oh, that's me, and that means that there's something wrong with me. We're going to come to that. It's not true. For folks who land in this camp, though, there can be a lot of leaning in relationships. I'm aware of my needs and I want to get them met. I may be testing the people that I'm with in relationships, maybe creating some drama to see if they actually are here, if the connection is actually sturdy, and a lot of holding on, a lot of maybe trying to change oneself to feel like you're good enough and feel like you're worthy enough so that partners or friends or whoever it is won't leave you. There's also folks who, like me, when I was a kid, Like I figured out, hey, I'm pretty smart, and nobody here who's in charge seems to be making great decisions. And every time I follow what I'm supposed to do in life, it doesn't work out for me. It doesn't fit me. I end up feeling like crap, or things go awry in some way. And I'm pretty sure if I do the opposite of what I'm told to do, that's a better bet. That's a better bet. And we learn, folks in that camp, what's called sometimes called avoidant attachment. Again, terrible name, or I prefer ambivalent attachment. In relationships, we tend to lean back. I need my space, yo. You know, you can come close, but if you come too close, I start getting a little bit edgy about my space and about not wanting to be overwhelmed with your needs. And there can be a tremendous fear of losing one's identity or one's sovereignty in connection with another person. And then there's those of us who actually have both the insecure and the avoidant at the exact same time. This is called disorganized attachment. That was me too. That's the ends I came to around my mid-20s. And that's a particularly confounding situation, because we want love and we're leaning in and we're trying to pull it in from others. And at the same time, it feels dangerous to have anybody close. And so we might go on the attack. These are the examples of when there's been significant enough attachment injuries to throw things off, to send people towards different ends than what I'm about to describe, which is secure attachment. Secure attachment arises in folks when that love is reliable at home, that warmth is reliable. There's some level of consistency, there's good, solid bonding, there's warmth, there's a sense of acceptance of who you are, being just loved and supported as a child. Somebody, one person is crazy about you, is just mad about you and thinks you're the shit when you're growing up. You get that, and chances are in relationships, when you're grown, you're going to be pretty okay with bonding with other people, pretty okay with being on your own, and not a lot of games to be played, because there's not a lot of anxiety or fear that creeps in and runs the show subconsciously. These are not conscious patterns that we develop. This stuff happens subconsciously. It's happening without our awareness, and this is important, without our volition. Without our volitions. These are ends that our nervous systems come to on their own.